Welcome back, Math 30-1. Today we are going to investigate and look at repeated factors for polynomial functions and how do they affect the graph. So we're going to start off here with my polynomial function and its graph. So here's my polynomial function and it's already factored for us. And we're going to see what happens. If we look at this here, we have two different factors. We have x plus 1 and x minus 3 as factors, which means we have two distinct roots. Okay, so two distinct roots since there are two distinct factors. Now, one of the factors is repeated. So we have x minus 3 is repeated. And x plus 1 is not repeated. Okay? So the zeros of the function, we know from the factors, are going to be at 3 and 1. Okay? Now, if we notice, there's a difference between the zeros and how the graph acts at those zeros. The x-intercept at -1 represents the zero of the function, and the x-intercept at 3 represents the zero of the function. But at 3, it is of multiplicity of 2. So it kind of comes up and touches and goes back up. Whereas it's a multiplicity, there is no multiplicity, it's only degree 1, there's only one factor at -1, so it just crosses and goes right through. So, what does multiplicity mean? Multiplicity of a zero corresponds to the number of times a factor is repeated in the function. So here we're going to look at what multiplicity can do. Multiplicity can do a few things. In one case, it could create a tangent. Okay? Now, when we have a tangent, like above here, it just touches the line. So I like to call these touchers. So whenever we have a multiplicity that creates a tangent, it could make a toucher. So it just comes in, touches the line, and moves away. We also have multiplicity that could create something called a point of inflection. Now, a point of inflection is where it changes concavity. Another way of looking at it is sneaking up to it. So basically what happens here is the graph sneaks up to the x-axis and then sneaks away. Okay? Kind of like this video here. So here what happens is we look at Kronk in The Emperor's New Groove. He comes down and he's sneaking down fast, and then he kind of slows down and stops a bit for those people to pass when they see him. Then he quickly goes down the stairs again and speeds up down the stairs. So that's kind of like what is happening here. Slows down, like here, he's coming down the stairs, he stops. Okay, when the people pass, then he goes quickly back down. So he's sneaking to our place and then sneaking away. All right, so now we're going to look at some examples here. So here is the first class example. It says, consider the following polynomial function. Okay, so we have this polynomial function here, and it is already factored for us. Now what it wants us to do is sketch the graph of the polynomial function using the following window. So I'm going to put on my calculator here. Out so we can see exactly what I'm doing on my calculator. Okay, move this over. Now we want to change my window to this here. So I have -5, and we're going to go to 5 and 1, and then the y min is -100, and we want 100 max and the scale of 20. Okay, so now let's plug in this equation here. So I could either plug in this top one or this bottom one. I'm just going to plug in the bottom one. So I'm going to have bracket x plus 3, and then we have bracket, we have x plus 2, x plus 1 squared, and plus 1 bracket, and we're going to square that. And we have our last one, x minus 2 cubed. And x minus 2, and that is to the power of 3. And do I have all of my brackets? I believe so. So now we're going to graph it. And my graph is going to look something like that. Let's double check, make sure we have this here. X plus 3, good. X plus 1 squared. And then, oh, that's where my mistake was. Put in a bracket there. I was missing a bracket. Now, let's see. There we go. That looks better. So this is how my graph should look like. So if I look at this here, we're going to roughly draw this out. Okay? So if I am to complete the sketch on the below, my zeros are at, I have negative 1, 2, 3. So I have a 0 at negative 3. And we know that from up here that we have a 0 at negative 3. I have another 0 at negative 1, which is, if you look at my graph, right there. So we have a 0 of negative 1. And then we have another 0 at positive 2, which is right here on my graph. Okay? So this one right here is of multiplicity 1, because there's only one exponent there. The next one here is of multiplicity 2. The x plus 1 has 2 multiplicity. And this next one is 3 multiplicity. So now we're going to describe it. So this first one here just crosses. It's what I call a crosser. Okay? The next one here is a, look back at the chart, it's a toucher. Multiplicity 2 gives me a toucher. It looks like this. Okay? So this one here is a toucher. Or it is a, what is that called? A tangent. Okay, tangent's proper term. I like to call them touchers. And the last one here is kind of a sneaker. So sneaks up and then sneaks away. So when it's a sneaker, it is a point of inflection. Okay? Now, it says complete the following. The degree of the polynomial is, what is my total degree? My total degree is, we have 6. Look at that right there. My total degree is 6. Then it says the sum of the multiplication of the zeros in px is going to be a total of 6. So we add up all my multiplicity, and it is 6 as well. All right, so that's kind of interesting here. Key thing is to look at multiplicity of 3 and 2 and how they differ, because that will be a later lesson. Okay. So let's look at the next one here. It says the polynomial function is given. Okay, so we're going to sketch this polynomial function in the graph with our windows. So I'm going to just plug in here, go into y equals. We're going to clear this off. We have x to the power of 4, and I'm going to put that in brackets actually, just to make sure, be safe, plus 2x cubed, move that over so we can see everything, plus 2x cubed, and it's only the x cubed, so I'm going to put a bracket, and then we're going to minus 15x squared, and then we're going to minus 32x, and then we're going to subtract 16. Okay? Now we go to my windows. My window now, it says my x min is negative 6. Whoops, I put subtract 6. My x max is positive 6, scale of 1. And here we're going to go to 150, 100, scale 20, and we're going to graph. So my graph is going to look something like that. Okay? So we can now somewhat sketch this on our diagram, and it looks like this. Then it touches, goes like that. We have a toucher there. And then it goes back up. Okay? Now, we want to know where are my zeros. So looking at this here, I'm going to find my zeros. So I'm going to go right here. I'm assuming they're going to be at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4, and negative 1, and positive 1, 2, 3, 4. But I could always double check and find my zeros right here. We're going to go, just keep on going here. We have right there, enter. Let's go left of it, and a guess. So we get exactly what we thought, negative 4, and it just crosses, so we know negative 4 is just going to be degree 1. Because anytime it just crosses, it's degree 1. This next one here, 0, oops, 2. Next one here, we're going to go there, left, and right there it touches, and then we want right bound. And my guess, somewhere there, enter. And I am going to end up getting, oh, we get negative 1. Okay, so we have negative 1. So it's kind of just like what we thought. And so I'm going to assume the last one here is going to be 4. Okay, so now the negative 1, if we looked at it, it just came up and it touched and moved away. So that is a toucher, which means it's a tangent. Therefore, it's going to have to be more multiplicity. So I'm going to have 1, and we know this one here is a crosser. So the only thing that's left is 2. Because if I look at this point here and this point here, those are both crossers. So they just cross perfectly. So those are degree 1s, and we have a total degree of 4. So then this next one here, this toucher must be of degree 2. So this one just crosses. This one here is tangent. This one crosses. And that helps us find out what degree the tangent is. It's degree 2. Okay? So complete the following. The degree of px is 6. The sum of multiplicity, is 4. The degree is 4. And the sum of multiplicity is also 4, since the degree and sum must be equal. Okay? So the polynomial of the following, write the polynomial in factored form, like that. Well, we're going to end up getting, we have x plus 4. That's this one here. Okay? And then we're going to have, for this one here, x plus 1. And then for my last one here, it's going to be, oh, and this one is actually squared. And then we're going to have x minus 4 as my last one. And this one's squared because it's a multiplicity 2. And that is pretty much our lesson.